All right, so welcome to Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, the abridged code of Jewish law, and we are doing chapter 121. So we said that there are various fast days that commemorate tragedies that happened in Jewish history, and we want to change. We want to be able to improve ourselves as a nation and as individuals, and we use the fast day as a preparation, as a way to put us in the right frame of mind that we can think about where we're heading in life. Again, this is both as an individual and as a nation, as a people, and how we can change and improve to make the future different from the past. So we mentioned a few of these days. So we mentioned the, let's let some people in. Okay, so we mentioned the 3rd of Tishrei. The 3rd of Tishrei, which was the fast of Gedaliah. On the fast of Gedaliah, this was when Gedaliah was, he was the Jewish governor for the Babylonians after they destroyed the first base of Mikdash and took over the country. They put this Gedaliah in charge as the governor, and he was assassinated on this day. And this ended the Jewish self-rule, and it ended the Jewish majority in the land of Israel. So welcome to those who just signed on. So my internet's a bit choppy over here, so the video freezes regularly, but as long as you can still hear me, that's fine. But if you can't hear me, please send a message on the chat, and we'll try and fix something. Right. So the 3rd of Tishrei, this was when Gedaliah was assassinated, Gedaliah ben Achikam, and that was the end of Jewish self-rule, and that was the end of Jewish majority. Then we mentioned the 10th of Tavis, the 10th day of the month of Tavis, Jewish month of Tavis. This was when the Babylonians besieged Jerusalem, and it was the beginning of the end. Then we mentioned the 17th of Tammuz, and there were 5 tragedies that happened on that. So the first one was the sin of the golden calf. Now that is really on the first part of the tragedy. What the biggest tragedy was after that, when Moshe came down and he broke the tablets as a result of the golden calf. So that's tragedy number 1. Tragedy number 2 was the walls of the base of Mikdash that's tragedy number 3. Number 2 was the daily Tomid, right? The daily offering that was brought every single day, every morning and every evening. The base of Mikdash was stopped. As we mentioned last week, they would, even though the city was besieged, they lowered a basket full of gold down over the wall, and the enemy took the gold and put animals in the basket. They pulled the basket up, and they were able to keep the daily offerings going every day, even though they were besieged. Unfortunately, at a certain point, they realized that by enabling us to bring our offerings, we're prolonging, we're stopping the enemy from defeating us. So instead of the sheep, they put a pig in the basket. Of course, the pig can't be offered, and that was the end of the daily Talmud. Okay. Now, even though I asked people to just put a message if we on the chat, if you can't hear me, but everyone's been frozen for a long time. So if you can hear me, actually put a message on the chat. Someone wants to put a message, so I know I'm not speaking to, I know I'm speaking to somebody.
We hear you. Can you hear us?
Yes, I hear you.
Yeah,
as long as we hear each other,
I can hear you too.
Okay, excellent. All right, as long as we can all hear, then the pictures don't matter. The third tragedy, as we said, was the walls of the Beis Hamikdash, of Jerusalem were pierced. Definitely the second Beis Hamikdash, the second temple, the walls were pierced and the enemy entered. And then we brought an opinion from the Talmud Yerushalmi, the other Talmud, right? We have two Talmuds. With the Talmud, when we generally speak about the Talmud, we speak about the Talmud Bavli. The Babylonian Talmud was primarily the teachings of the yeshivas in Babylon, but there's also Talmud Yerushalmi, which was the teachings of the yeshivas in Israel, not in Jerusalem. Jews were banned from Jerusalem in those years. Though up north, but anyway, in the Galilee. But that was developed as opinion over there that says that even though in the books of the prophets it says the walls of the first temple were pierced on the 9th of Tammuz, but they made a mistake. Right? They had been besieged. There was a famine. There was a war. And they made a mistake in the calendar. It was also the 17th of Tammuz. Then we mentioned that Apostomus burnt a Sefer Torah, publicly burnt a Sefer Torah. It's not clear exactly who this Apostomus was. Possibly this was someone during the Greek times, possibly someone during the Roman times. But either way, he was a shady character, and he publicly burnt the Sefer Torah. And the fifth tragedy was a idol was erected in the Beis Hamikdash, and this most likely was referring to the incident in the times of the Greeks. Okay, all right. So we are up to number 5. Number 5, paragraph 5. Hey, the Tisha B'Av. And the next fast day is Tisha B'Av, the 9th day of the month of Av. Right? It's people comments actually the first 9/11. Right? It was the 9th day of the 11th month, and quite a few things happened on this day. The first thing was that a decree was made on the Jewish people that they will not be allowed to go into the land of Israel. So Moses took the Jewish people out of Egypt. They, regardless of this decree, spent the first year pretty much in the wilderness, but they were ready to be able to go in. And we know, he says, the spies came back, right? Moshe sent spies. There was no need to send spies. Hashem promised us that it was going to be miraculous victories and that the land was good. But certain people, for whatever reason, they were afraid. They wanted spies to be sent. So Moshe sent spies, but the spies came back with they didn't tell lies per se, but they took things out of proportion. And the way they interpreted facts was inappropriate. Right? In other words, they brought back certain information, and then they extrapolated on that in a way that really scared the Jewish people. And then what happened? The Jewish people cried for no reason. They were mourning. They at that moment lost their confidence in God. So because of this reason, because we cried, we considered this day a tragedy, we opened up channels of crying, of tragedy, negative spiritual channels. And as a result of that, both the first and the second were destroyed on this day. So that's one thing that happened. Next thing, V'nilkada ha'ir Baytown shaisa ir gedola. So the city of Baytown. So this was later. This was after the rebellion. After the basement was destroyed, there was a rebellion, and Baytown ended up being the last major holdout. And unfortunately, what happened was the Romans eventually conquered Baytown, and they killed everyone. They killed everyone, and just also chapter 121. Just minus all the message. Chapter 121. Sorry, I didn't answer it earlier. It was a city that it says over here. There were thousands of 10,000s. In other words, millions of people in the city, and they were all killed. And not only that, we weren't even allowed to bury them. The Baytown, and also on that day, even later, Rabbi,
there's a lot of background noise.
Yeah, I apologize. I'm in the lobby of the hotel because
No, but it's not your background noise.
my room.
It's not your background noise. It's other people that are not.
No,
you.
it's not other people.
No, I think it was.
I can see their names flash on the screen when they're making noise.
I'll put the mute on, and people can unmute if they have a question. And yeah, but I think the loud noise was a group walking through the lobby. All right, we should put a sign while I'm giving share us to stay in their rooms. They're not allowed out. Anyway, so so later on, because from the road, the Jews didn't behave. So eventually they plowed over Jerusalem, right, and all around it. And although it doesn't mention it here, but they built a new city. Right, when you go to the old city today, there's an excavation of there's a part of a street from that Roman city. And it's kind of apostle, and they fulfilled the verse, the prophecy that Sion Sadeh Secharish, that Jerusalem, which is Zion, is going to be plowed over, field that's plowed over. Right. So these are these are the fast days, and these are the Vav number 6. If these fasts fall out on Shabbos, we postpone them till after Shabbos. Now, before we mention the exception, we'll just point out that this year, coming up in a few weeks, actually less than a few weeks, coming up this it should be a fast day, but it's being postponed until Sunday. Right, so the fast is going to be this coming Sunday.
Rabbi,
Likewise, Tisha B'Av is also going to fall out.
Rabbi, I don't know if other people were able to hear you,
and
but
therefore it's going to be the same thing.
Are you able to hear us? Rabbi? Did everybody hear that clearly in the last minute or two?
I heard everything.
He froze. He froze.
Now he's frozen.
Rabbi, you're frozen. We can't hear you.
He's in Israel, right?
Sorry about that. Not sure. I guess it's internet connection. So we shut out and then
We hear you now.
returned. Okay.
Baruch
Hopefully
haba.
thank you. Hopefully it'll behave. Internet will behave. No, it's relationship with the computers that the computer may have beat me at chess, but it was no match for me at kickboxing. That's how we get on. Anyway, so if the fast falls out on Shabbos, we postpone the fast until Sunday. Sort of the Tavis Be'erev Shabbos. Now, if the 10th of Tavis falls out on a Friday, on the Friday, we
Rabbi, you're breaking up again. You're still breaking up.
Completely.
I don't know if he hears us.
Not a word.
Now we see you, but
my apologies. I know it started to reconnect.
I think reading it
It
from the
looks like it's
Sefer,
gonna.
reading it from the Sefer overloads it. You're better off just looking at the screen and saying it by heart.
Yeah.
Not just.
Could be that's the problem. That it's looks like this may happen a few times. So let's just bear with it. We'll just keep coming back on. And I apologize. Last night in this hotel, so
Baruch.
fall out on a Friday. And when it does, we even fast on a Friday. We normally try to avoid fasting on Friday because it affects
You're out again.
Friday night meal. If we fasted, you can't hear?
Yeah,
On and off.
Right, makes it. Okay, so I don't hear what you're saying very well. Maybe send a message.
We're hearing you now. Can you hear
Okay.
us? We're hearing you now, but we
Yes,
missed
I
about,
hear you.
we missed about more than half of what you just said. Of number 6.
Okay. All right. So I was saying that a fast, normally if a fast falls out on a Friday, we bring it forward to a Thursday. Because fasting on a Friday is going to ruin our Shabbos Friday night meal. It's very difficult to have a calm and pleasurable Friday night meal if we've been fasting all day. We're going to end up rushing and it's not the same. The exception is this 10th of Tavis. Now on the surface, nothing happened on this day. It was just a siege, and yet theoretically we would fast on a Shabbos. We do fast on a Friday. How come? Even Tisha B'Av itself, the day of destruction, we postpone. It falls out on Shabbos. And the reason is that because it's the beginning, right? Without beginning, without the start, nothing else could have happened. So we've mentioned our set calendar and current calendar. So we'll just briefly explain in case not everyone's familiar. The mitzvah of Rosh Chodesh of the Jewish calendar is that the Supreme Jewish Court, the Sanhedrin, when the new moon comes out, witnesses, people who saw it, would come to the Beis Mikdash where the Sanhedrin was, and then later, unfortunately, due to persecution and come to the Sanhedrin, and they would testify that they saw the moon. Now they were questioned. I'm not going to say interrogated. That's a little bit strong, but they were questioned to make sure they're telling the truth. And in other words, how high in the sky. They worked out mathematically in various things. And based on the testimony, they would declare the month and see a Jewish month, a lunar month, is
a smoke break.
Emes, I will tell him if he turns his video off, he may have better connections. He'll be better off just with audio, because that does take a drain.
Showed a message before that his bandwidth was low.
That's it. It's a very frustrating thing. For him more than anybody.
everyone's back. Okay,
All
it's a little
right.
frustrating. Is my apologies. I'm doing the best we can.
Rebbe, Emes, if you turn your video off, you will use a lot less bandwidth, and it actually may be better. It's up to you and the island. But if you just use the audio,
All right.
you're not using that much energy.
Okay. All right. So we'll try. Hopefully, it'll be better. So we're just saying the Jewish calendar. Ideally, we should have a witnesses should see the moon, and they should come and testify in the Sanhedrin, and then the Sanhedrin will declare the Rosh Chodesh, the first day of the next month, and this becomes a new month. Now, a Jewish month is a drop over.
Uh-oh. We lost them completely.
Isaac, I guess it didn't work.
Yeah, I guess not. Didn't hurt.
Give him another thing.
I have no more ideas. I'm out.
Okay, so I'm back.
All right.
My apologies. Anyway, so it's a Jewish month. There's a drop over 29 and a half days. So what ends up happening, if it was exactly 29 and a half days, the new moon would come out during the daytime, so you wouldn't see it until the next evening. So you'd have 30 days in that month. And then the next month, because you already started half a day late, you'll end up seeing after 29 days. So if it was exactly 29 and a half days, you'd end up each month would go 1 month 29 days, 1 month 30 days, 1 month 29 days, 1 month 30 days, but it's a little bit off. So occasionally we end up with 2 30-day months or 2 29-day months.
But Rabbi,
That's
Rabbi, we don't see
Yes.
the moon at daytime, so how will it happen at daytime? It always happens in the
That's what I'm
evening or
saying,
at night.
but correct.
It's-
So that's what I said, that because when the new moon would theoretically come during the daytime, 29 and a half days, but you won't see it till the next evening. So that's how we get a 30-day month, because we'll end up having another 12 hours
Okay.
until nighttime,
Okay,
and that's a 30-day month.
But you can't see the moon in the daytime. You may not be able to see the sliver of the new moon, but you can see the moon during the daytime.
I don't, but they need two
correct.
witnesses.
So because the phenomena of the new moon would happen during the daytime, you won't see it till the next evening. Even though it happens at that time, no one will see it, no witnesses will see it until nighttime. So it ended up that this 29 and a half day month, which let's say the 29 and a half days, so the new moon theoretically comes out on 10 o'clock in the morning, but you won't see it till nighttime. So you end up with a 30-day month because we had to wait another half a day for it to be visible, even though it theoretically happened. So then the next month started half a day late because, you didn't see it until later because you can't see the moon during the daytime. So then the
Because-
next month ends up being 29 days without the
Because you
half.
took
because
already half a day.
the
from
half already
from
happened in the
next
previous
month.
month.
Ja, und все, зачем это? Всё же-
Correct. We already took away half a day. It was used up until we could see it. So if it was exactly 29 and a half days, we'd just alternate 29-day month, 30-day month, 29-day month, 30-day month. But it's a little bit off. So sometimes we end up with 230s, 229s, but most of the time we go 29-30. At least if we're going by the system of witnesses. In our set calendar, we have a few adjustments. So it doesn't always work that way. But so again, what happened is witnesses saw the new moon, they came and testified. If the testimony was accepted, that became Rosh Chodesh, and then they had a series of fires. Right, Israel is a very mountainous area, and there was a fire near where the Sanhedrin.
Rabbi, we lost you again.
Well, we lost the fires too. We're getting to that point.
We should time and see how often it is, then maybe we can expect it.
Uh-huh. And if you expect it.
Again,
what's
my
the difference?
apologies. I guess we just
All right.
keep
Then I
making
can
do
take a
the
break
best we
too.
can.
Yeah.
It's I gotta say the rooms are nice, the food's good, and this. I'm actually sitting in the room in the place that supposedly has the best Wi-Fi in the entire hotel.
Baruch.
Lucky this is the best one, right? Okay. In my room, I couldn't even log on. Anyway,
Oh, that's
Which
okay.
hotel?
Lashon Hara, Lashon Hara.
yeah, we can't
Yeah,
say. So anyway, Israel's
yeah,
a
the
very
best food.
mountainous area. So
Yeah, the
after
best
the
food.
Sanhedrin decided it was Rosh Chodesh, what they did is there was a nearby mountain, and they had a fire on there, and they lit torches, and they waved these torches backwards and forwards, and then the people on the next mountain, they're all waiting. It was going to be one day or the next day. They saw the waving, so they lit their torches, their long torches, and they started waving back and forwards. And within a few hours, the entire Israel knew that it was Rosh Chodesh. It was the new month. And they even got second base in English times. They even within a few hours got all the way to Babylon, and all the Jewish people, even outside of Israel, were aware of a few problems. First problem was that false witness started to come in. There were different groups, who had their agendas, breakaways from mainstream Judaism. And so we had people wanted to come give testimony on the wrong day. So we ended up only being able to accept testimony from people that we knew, who the Sanhedrin knew. And obviously can't know everyone. So what would happen if someone saw the moon and he wasn't known, then someone from that town, let's say maybe the town rabbi, someone who the Sanhedrin did know, would travel with him and testify that this is a kosher witness. And then they would be able to look at his testimony, ask him the questions, and potentially accept the testimony. That was issue number one. That was how that was solved. Issue number two was these mountains where they had these fires. And again, these groups that had agenda of changing the Jewish calendar would go up on the mountain, and they would kill the people and wave the torches on the wrong day. So that system had to be abolished. And the Sanhedrin started sending out messages horseback. Right? People would travel, and the people who went were known. You couldn't have a false messenger. They knew who to expect. But the disadvantage was now it took time, right? To see someone waving a bonfire on a mountain, even if you're also on a mountain, the next mountain, and however many miles away, you see it almost instantly. But to travel from horseback from mountain to mountain takes time. And so, although the Jews in Bavel and Babylon could be informed within a few hours, it went along from mountain to mountain to mountain, the fire, when they used the bonfires, when they had to send messages riding a horse, it could take over 2 weeks. And this became the origin of having a second day Yontiv, second day of a festival outside of Israel, because although you knew when the previous month began, but that previous month, so let's say if we're talking about Pesach, so the previous month of Adar, okay, 2 weeks later you found out, but you know when it began. But that month could either be 29 or 30 days. And since Pesach is the 15th of Nisan, so if the previous month, was 29 days, then the 15th of Nisan would be 1 day earlier than if the previous month was 30 days. So either one of these 2 days could have been the beginning of Pesach. And therefore, outside of Israel, they started to keep 2 days Yontiv. And on Pesach, for example, have a Seder on both nights. While in Israel, the messengers could pretty much get to Israel within the 2 week period. And therefore, people knew when Rosh Chodesh was before Pesach, so they knew the exact date of Pesach. So they only had 1 day, first day Pesach, and 1 day Seder. And that's how it is, until today. So we have a calendar today, and we move from there. Number 7, Chosin, a groom, includes the bride as well, by the way. Shechala achas ma'arba tanyas elu, b'soich shivas yemem nishte shloi. So we, after the Jewish wedding, we have, if they haven't been married before, there's a 7 days of celebration. So if one of these fast days falls out during their 7 days of celebration, even though for them, their 7 days of celebration are like a festival, nevertheless, Chai the Sundays, they still have to fast. So why do they need to fast when it's coming out on a day that's festive for them? Given shehagu shaloi have a regel the yachid. Sorry, shehagu shaloi have a regel the yachid, because their private festivities is individuals. And what happens in individual festivity? Asa velas v'tainas the rabbim v'dachalo. And so along comes the fasting and mourning of the many, and it pushes away the festival of the one. The oid haksiv, and there's another reason because it's written. That if I fail to elevate Jerusalem above my biggest joy, right? In other words, so even though we're having our own personal joy, we should never forget the destruction of now, ches number 8. Cholach yesh bein shalosh tainis rishonos l'Tisha B'Av. Now, the first 3 fasts we mentioned, the third day of the Jewish month of Tishrei, the 10th day of the Jewish month of Tavis, and the 17th day of the month of Tammuz. There's a difference between them and Tisha B'Av, the 9th day of Av. What's the difference? Shalosh Tainis Rishonos, on these first 3 fasts, we can eat the evening before until dawn. So, this Sunday, it's going to be the 17th. Well, as we said, 17th Tammuz is actually Shabbos, but we're going to observe the fast on Sunday because it's being pushed off due to Shabbos. So, right, so on the Sunday morning, if we get up before dawn. Okay, so first of all, hello to those who just joined in. I'm sorry I don't have the camera on, but we have poor internet over here, so I'm minimizing the usage, just using the audio. We've been knocked off a few times and then gone back on. So if you see that I disappear for a moment, don't worry, I'll be back. We're having also problems hearing the sound. So if you have a question, send a message in the chat. And God willing, we'll be able to learn just as well as we normally do. So we said on the first 3 fasts, the 10th of Tavis, the 3rd of Tishrei, and the 17th of Tammuz, we can eat the night before. So this Sunday, when we're observing the fast of the 17th of Tammuz, if someone gets up before dawn, they can drink, they can eat, and it's actually a pretty good idea, especially, it's a fast in the summer, it can be quite hot. Get up and have at least a drink of water. And those who find it difficult to function without a coffee, maybe they should have a coffee as well, and a little bit to eat, maybe. So we can eat until dawn. Now, having said that, this is if you didn't go to sleep for the night. But if you went to sleep for the night, then it depends. Because normally when you go to sleep for the night, you don't have any intention to eat before dawn. Right? So if you just had a little nap, people have a snack after a nap. But if you've gone to bed for the night, normally you... However, if you're someone that you normally get up before dawn and you have a drink, that's the norm. You get up every morning, you have a glass of water and or a coffee, whatever happens to be. Then you don't need to fast until you had your drink. That's what you normally do. And likewise, we're going to mention later that if a person, even though they've gone to bed for the night, if they make a conscious decision that they are going to eat and or drink something, they're planning to get up early, then that's fine. You've made that declaration. Right, so that's those 3 fasts. However, the Tisha B'Av, on the 9th day of Tisha B'Av,
Rabbi,
from the Hafsik, yes,
the day starts at midnight. So we're not talking about morning.
send your question in the chat.
You can't hear me?
I can hear it's breaking in and out.
Okay, I don't have a chat.
Okay, so let's try again.
Okay, I'm saying the day starts at midnight by us on our calendars, right?
No, in halacha, the day starts at nightfall. But
At
the
nightfall.
fast, which is for the first 3 fasts, which is just the time that is light, the fast is gonna start at dawn.
Oh,
So
I see.
if we wake up before dawn and we intended to eat, is no problem. But Tisha B'Av, we're gonna have to stop eating Mavod Yom Shlofanov before Shkia, before sunset, the day before.
Okay,
Like Yom
So that's
Kippur.
one difference. So difference number 1 between the other 3 fasts and Tisha B'Av is that those 3 fasts are only during the daylight hours, and as long as we intended to before we went to sleep, we can eat and drink until dawn. While Tisha B'Av, the fast is going to start before sunset the day before. Difference number 1. Difference number 2. Shalosh Tanis Rishonis. These other 3 fasts, the first ones, the Toras Berachitza, you're allowed to wash. The Sicha, you can put on oils and various things. The Ilas, a sandal, you can wear proper leather shoes. Tashmi Shemitah, marital relations are permitted. However, but on Tisha B'Av, Surim B'Kulam, we can't do these things. Now, in the next chapter, well, not the next one, the one after that, we'll see exactly what you can wash, what you can't wash. You can, if there's actual dirt, let's say someone got mud on them or something, you're allowed to wash off the mud. But we'll see what it means. We can't wash. We can't wash as usual. Now, Omishul Bal Nefesh V'Adam Bori. However, if someone is very healthy and he's wants to be extra from, he can be strict. Today we're not, because someone, in the olden days where people were stronger and they wanted to be strict, they still wear proper shoes. And this is because people will ridicule him. And people should try and avoid marital relations on the fast day. But if it's the night that his wife went to the mikveh, then they do have relations. And because he should fulfill his wife on these days. Test number 9. There's another difference, Tisha B'Av, that's less strict about the other 3. What are they? The Uboros, Menikos, Mitztaros, Turas from the Sundays. Pregnant women and nursing women are exempt from fasting the other fasts. So Tisha B'Av is going to be a little bit stricter. Now, sometimes may also be exempt, if they're having difficulties, but presuming all is, and it's going to be a matter of discomfort. But for someone who's nursing or pregnant, can be a large discomfort. So again, we're only talking about discomfort and not medical issues. Right? If there's medical issues, it's something else. But if it's just going to be difficult and uncomfortable, then Tisha B'Av, they do fast, but they don't fast the other ones. V'chein choila, and likewise a person who is sick, afal pisha ein b'sakona, but he's not in any danger. There's no life-threatening situation. He's sick. He has, let's say, the flu. So he's not going to die, but he fancies a drink of water. It's he's not feeling so great, or a cup of tea. Lo yisana, so he doesn't fast. Tisha B'av he will, but the other three doesn't. Mikol mokaim af mishmuta lo lechol. Nevertheless, even someone who's allowed to eat, lo ya'anegas atzmoi. He shouldn't start having, doesn't start eating chocolates and all fancy delicacies and really enjoy himself. Rather, he eats what he needs for the health of his body. So he eats basic and whatever the person might need. And but we don't go overboard. And also children. So children aren't allowed to fast, as we said. But even though they're not fasting, they don't start having to have chocolate cereals and candies and these kinds of things. They don't have that in the fast day. They should understand it's a fast day. They're too young to fast, but they just eat a sandwich, whatever it is. Even though they're not obligated to fast. We call mocking nevertheless. If they their mind is developed enough that they can understand what's going on, they can understand this degree of mourning here, then we should teach them. They should have bread and water. It doesn't have to be bread and water. I mean, they can, maybe have some peanut butter in the sandwich, whatever it is. But in other words, they should know it's a fast day. We're not having a 5-course meal and not candies and chocolate and various things. They just eat what they need. There's abalim at sibah, so they can mourn, so to speak, with everyone else. In other words, they can participate in what's going on. So that's the differences. Yud, number 10. Now, we can't wash our mouth out with water on the fast day, right? So either we can get up before dawn to brush our teeth, we can use mouthwash if we don't wash it out with water afterwards, right? Because mouthwash is not edible. As a matter of fact, it can be poison, right? Because of the people drink a whole bottle or something. So we can do that. And if a person has a lot of saliva in their mouth, rather than swallow it, they should spit it out if they can. But if they can't swallow it, I know you're in the public place, whatever it is. It's not a situation where you can't spit it out. Sorry, so if it's possible, they should spit it out. If you're in a situation where you can't spit it out, you can swallow it even on Yom Kippur. Because no one's intending to enjoy, to have benefit. No one swallows some excess saliva in the mouth and says, I feel better now, right? It doesn't work that way. So it's not for one's enjoyment. So therefore, you're allowed to if you don't have a opportunity. So, as we said, we should avoid washing our mouth out with water. So either if we're going to brush the teeth, we need to get up before dawn, or you can use mouthwash, but just the mouthwash, not washing it with water afterwards. Right. Now, next situation is, let's say a person, it's a fast day, so we're not eating, of course, but you want to be able to eat right after the fast. So you're making supper, or I guess technically it's breakfast, but whatever it is, you're making some food to eat after the fast. And normally when you cook, or many people when they cook, they taste the food to see does it need some salt, or whatever else. Is it on track? So, are you allowed to do that? So let's see. To taste food. Afilu im yifloid, even if you're going to spit it out. Also, you're not allowed to put so you can't do it on a fast day. Right? So they're cooking the soup, and you want to see if it needs some salt or pepper or something. You're not allowed to taste it, even if you're going to spit it out. That's on a public fast day. However, if a person has a personal fast day that he's accepted upon himself, for whatever reason, a person feels that it's going to aid his spiritual development to fast. Now, I will point out that generally today we don't do this because we become weaker, the generations, and most people, if they fast, they don't function as well. Your davening won't be as good. Your learning won't be as good as it would be if you were eating. You're sometimes a little bit grumpy. You can snap at people, right? So today, most of us are not capable of functioning as per normal if we fast. So we don't take optional fast upon ourselves. But in concept, if someone did, he's allowed to taste the food and spit it out if he's preparing for after the fast. Likewise, washing out one's mouth, brushing your teeth, is permissible on an individual's fast. Okay. Yud Aleph, number 11. Mitzvah kol adas Yisrael she'al kol tzara shelo tavoi. There's a mitzvah for every Jewish community when there's a tragedy that's coming. Yisanu yispalot tzarasim of Hashem yisbar shmoi. They should fast and cry to Hashem. So I'll give an example. I mean, in the olden days, we were talking about, if cities were sieged, there's look like there's going to be a war, various things. So people would fast and try and improve themselves to help avert it. But when I was in high school, although I grew up in Sydney, in Australia, I boarded and went to the school in Melbourne, and there was a period of about 6 months where multiple people were hit by cars, and it wasn't terrorism or anything like that. It was each one was a tragic accident. One person was from America and they looked the wrong way before they stepped on the road because the cars, driving the other side of the road. No one was a child who got confused with the lights. There were a few things, but it was several people. And the community rabbi, Rabbi Groner, of blessed memory, he called a public fast day for the community, right? Because there was so many tragedies. So every community, if God forbid there's some type of tragedy, we should fast and improve ourselves. Now, if it's not an appropriate time for fasting, going for example, right? We're fleeing. There's going to be an impending war, and the people, the civilians are on the run. When you're on the run, you don't want to. If you're fast, you want to have the energy. So rather than fast, the community should accept upon themselves, we're going to fast in the future when things settle down. The next Shavlahem Ke'ilu is Anu'ata. Then it'll be considered as if they now. Matzinika Daniel, like we find about Daniel, and it quotes some verses. The says, "V'yomer Eloi al tira Daniel, says Daniel, don't be afraid, he's told. Because as soon as you planned to fast, already you were saved. So we see this concept just by planning to fast, what happens. Okay, now we're going to start the next chapter. You know, I know it's probably not as interesting when people can ask questions, having a few difficulties here. And getting knocked off, a few times it's taken more time, but this fast of 17 Tammuz is coming up this Sunday. So those who are healthy, and then, you know, obviously, you know, people who are diabetic or perhaps have to take various medications, have to have with food. There can be lots of reasons not to fast, but those who are healthy and are able to really should fast. And those who think there may be a reason why they can't, then you know, check with your rabbi. I normally ask you questions too. So, and I'll emphasize, just as it is important to fast if one can fast, it's just as important not to fast if you're not meant to. Right? Sometimes people feel that they, you know, they have to push it through, but it's not always wise. And the same Torah that tells us to fast tells us not to fast under certain circumstances. So anyway, Hashem should bless us all with the
Rabbi, you're frozen. We don't hear you.
I think he knows when he's frozen.
I know when he's frozen, he doesn't hear us
yeah, I
either.
was just saying, sorry, sorry, we were cut
Your
off again.
bracha.
We're saying that
bracha.
Hashem should bless us all with the health that we can fast.
Amen.
Yeah, you hear me now?
Amen.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Right. Okay. All right. So let's quickly start the next chapter and see how much we can do while we still have time. Siman Kuf Chaf Beis, so chapter 122. Dinim and Shiva Asab Tammuz Tisha B'Av. These are the laws of the mourning, for lack of a better word. I'm sorry, this is the laws of the observances. So as we said, on the 17th of Tammuz, historically what happened is the walls of Jerusalem were pierced. And there was fighting in the streets. At a certain point, the Jewish people retreated behind the walls of the Temple Mount. And on Rosh Chodesh Av, which is, you know, a little less than 2 weeks into the 3 weeks, after the 17th Tammuz, a little less than 2 weeks afterwards, they pierced into those walls, and the battle of the Temple Mount began. So if you've been to Israel and you've seen the Temple Mount, now it's really higher than it seems because the ground was built up. The ground level, the valley next to the mountain, there's been layers upon layers, houses built on top of arches. So the mountain's higher than it looks, but it's still not huge. You know, it's a type of thing you could walk up easily within an hour, you know, maybe half an hour. Person could walk up. But what happened was there was a battle for this mount, for this hill, for 7 days. So for 7 days, there was this hand-to-hand combat to take over this hill. Unfortunately, so many lives were lost in this battle on this hill that the Roman officers, their horses, there was a river of blood that the horses' noses, the river blood was deep, so deep that went up to the horses' noses. And you can imagine if it's a hill that takes half an hour to walk up or something, a little bit longer perhaps, and people stabbing each other with swords for 7 days, there was a lot of people, unfortunately. Although man for man, more Romans were killed than Jews, but still there was still unfortunately many Jews who died. And so therefore we have certain observances of mourning we keep for the whole 3 weeks. These last 9 days, it gets a little bit stricter. And then on the 7th, they took over. So, the last few days of the week that Tisha B'Av falls out, we get a little bit stricter. And then it was actually set on fire, and the destruction began on the 9th of Av. So that's when we fast, and the morning observances get even stricter. But for let's start the first almost 2 weeks of this 3 week period. Alf number 1. Actually, I guess we've run out of time.
Thank you, Rabbi.
I apologize again for the choppy internet. We made it. So those that are going to be fasting, well, first of all, Hashem should bless us that it's being pushed off a day anyway because of Shabbos. Hashem should bless us to be pushed off permanently. That, we'll have the base of Mikdash rebuilt. And but if God forbid we are fasting, people should have a easy and meaningful fast. And we'll learn together next week, God willing.
Amen.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Have a good
Wonderful Shabbos.
Good Shabbos.
Bye-bye.
Take care.